Hello everyone and welcome back to part 2 of the how to build a $6 a month Bukkit 25 slot server. And this is the manual version. It's a lot more of an involved process. It's going to take more time. The fast version is about 4 minutes long. I have no idea how long this one's going to be. It's not going to be ridiculous, but it's probably going to be at least double that. So anyway, the automatic version is a launch.sh. It's a shell script that will install 3 packages and download and kind of set up to some extent Bukkit. So we're going to do all that manually. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install Java. And you have 2 options. 1, you can install Java from the main Java website, or 2, you can install Java from the Yum repository that comes with CentOS. So if you choose to install Java from the Yum repository, it's not truly Java, it's OpenJDK, which is an open source implementation of Java, and that's what I'm going to be using for this tutorial. The other one installs the actual version of Java from the website, but that one is a more involved process. So to make this tutorial easier and shorter for the manual version, we're going to be using Yum to install Java. So you can do Yum search Java, and it'll do this. I'm going to open up a second SSH session here, and so now I have 2 SSH sessions. This is both to the same server, and you can do this. There's no problem with it at all. There is something called screen in Linux that allows you to there's something called screen in Linux that allows you to basically create different screens on your server, and each screen is like a session for SSH, and that way when you close out of your server, like when you exit your server, that session doesn't end. As well, you can switch between different things. Now I know you can do that, and we're going to be doing that later in the tutorial, but for right now it's easier to be able to look at the exact name and in this window and look and type it in this window instead of having to switch between screens. So we're going to be focusing on this one for now. So I'm going to do yum install, and I'm going to look for the package that I want. I did yum search Java, so it's searching for all the Yum packages that have Java in them. And so from our results, we have this Java 1.7.0 OpenJDK i686. This is a 32-bit implementation of OpenJDK runtime environment. And so let's just install this real quick. So yum install Java 1.7.0 OpenJDK.i686. And I'm going to press enter. And it'll load some plugins, determine the fastest mirror, and it'll print out all of this random stuff. And these are basically dependencies that it needs to be installed for it to be able to run Java. So it needs alsalib, flac, freetype, giflib, blah 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 blah. So you type Y and enter, and then that's confirming that you want to download and install all the dependencies. Dependencies are things that a package needs to run. For example, in Linux, you might have the dependency of, for example, libogg, which is right here actually, for using open source sound files, for example, ogg vorbis files basically. So the dependencies are things that you must install to use another package, and then it'll say, warning, the RPM TS HDR from FDNO header has no key, and so it's trying to retrieve a key. And yes, that's okay. You're downloading it from a reputable source, which is the Yum repository, so don't worry about that. And as this is installing, real quick, I'm just going to do a little bit of a demo on how to use some of the basic commands of the Linux terminal. So ls lists everything in your current directory. So if I cd out and I do ls, I see a couple things there. And if I do something like make dir, it makes a directory. So I'm going to later on be making a directory. I'm going to go way more in depth into actually how to use the Linux command line in tutorial number 3, sorry, because that's when the easy way and the hard way for getting everything configured are going to branch back together, and that's essential knowledge for both. So I'll be going more in depth into the Linux terminal, how to use, in the next video, but as we need commands here, we'll be explaining them, and then probably in the next video we'll give a short explanation of them to the people who missed it because they did the easy version with the automatic configuration script. If you're interested real quick to see what the configuration script has inside of it, you can download it on your own and look through it and see what it does. Basically what it does is it prints out some information about itself that I typed in, it echoes it, and then it downloads the Java RPM from my server. I uploaded a mirror of the Java RPM because it's kind of hard to wget it from the Java website, so I just mirrored it, and then it installs the RPM with the -uvh flag, or flags, and then it downloads nano, it does yum install nano, I think, and then it installs htop from another RPM, and then it creates a Bukkit directory. It downloads Craft Bukkit 1.4.2 revision 0.2, or the latest beta, and it puts it in there, and then it gives you a start server script that basically just starts up the server by default with 2 gigabytes of RAM, maximum 1 gigabyte minimum, and it's a shell script. So then the shell, the launch, the easy way, modifies that shell script to be executable, chmod a+x, and then you can run that shell script. So if you don't understand any of that, that's fine. It'll be explained later on. Now we're just waiting for this Java installation to finish. Then we have other stuff to install. And as you can see, we're already at 6 minutes and 20 seconds. And we're just scratching the surface of installing Java, and the other one by now would be completely finished with installing Java htop and nano, and downloading Craft Bukkit and giving you a startup shell and everything. So anyway, that is obviously the faster solution, but this is, I personally think, the better way, because then you know what's going on, you know what's on your server, you know how things work and where things are from, and so you learn more doing it this way. So it's worth it. So now it's just cleaning up some of whatever it did during installation. You know, it downloaded packages and doesn't actually need the package downloaded because it's been installed, extracted to wherever it really needs to be. So it's just cleaning up, deleting those files, finishing up and adding things to the system so it knows what commands to associate with Java. And any second now it should finish the cleanup. Cleanup doesn't usually take too terribly long, but while that's going, oh, alright, completed, never mind. And then any second it'll take us back to our shell. There we go. Back to our prompt. And then the next thing we're going to install is, let's do htop. So now let's do htop. So wget the openeffect.com/CentOS /htop i686.86.rpm. And it'll grab that. If you do ls, you see it right there. And you can do RPM. RPM stands for Red Hat Package Manager. It's a derivative of, since CentOS is a derivative of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, it uses the Red Hat Package Manager as well as Yum, which is Yellow Dog updated or modified. So anyway, just throwing that out there. RPM is the package manager for CentOS and for Red Hat. So RPM/UVH htop i686.rpm, and press enter. And it'll download, and, well, it's already downloaded. It'll install it, and that was easy. And htop, real quick, actually no, I'll go over that in the next tutorial, but basically, just real quick, htop is this little interface for seeing your current usage of resources on your server, like memory, CPU. So it's a modified version of top. Top is a lower-end version that comes by default, and top is less feature-filled and isn't as interactive and as easy to use. So anyway, and then we're also going to install nano, so yum install nano. And this is the same, pretty much the same exact process as we did for Java. It'll ask and we'll confirm, yeah, alright, download, whatever. And nano's a lot faster to install. It's a small program, nano, and it's a very small download, doesn't need a lot of dependencies. In fact, I don't even know if it even needs any, and it's complete. Nano, like I said, is a text editor. We'll be using it for configuration. So now that we're done with that, we're going to make a directory called Bukkit server, and ls shows us that the directory Bukkit server is there. Right now, we don't need htop i686.rpm, so we can do rm-f htop i686.rpm, and it'll just remove it. rmf, you can remember that remove file, if that helps you. And then cd Bukkit server. cd is change directory, so if I do cd Bukkit server, it goes into the Bukkit server. It's like on Windows, if I am here and I double click on documents, that's like cd documents essentially. So like CD documents would go boom, there you go. And then once I'm inside Bukkit server, if I want a CD out, so I want to go to the directory behind that, so say I'm here and I want to go back, it's kind of like clicking here, or like if you're here and you're on your local disk, it's kind of like clicking this back here. That's CD dot dot, so CD dot dot, and I'm back one step behind Bukkit server, so the folder that Bukkit server is contained inside. And so I'm going to CD out here, and I'm actually going to make Bukkit server here, make dir Bukkit server out here, and if I ls, then I have a Bukkit server folder right there, so I can CD into it, CD Bukkit server, CD is change directory, by the way, ls, there's nothing in here right now, so we're going to wget the latest Craft Bukkit version. So if we go over to bukkit.org, and we go to this post here and go to continue reading, and it'll say download Craft Bukkit here, and I'll copy this link address and I'll put it here, and go over to here, and we don't need that open right now, and we'll do, or actually this is the one I need open right here, yeah, and so I just pasted that URL for the download, the direct link to it, so it's http://cbukkit bukk.it/craft-bukkit beta.jar, and press enter, and it's like, what? No such file or directory found. It's because I didn't do wget. Wget is, and I've used it before, it's webget. It gets a file from the internet, from a server, an HTTP server like Apache or similar. So let's try this again. Pressing the up arrow key will go back through the commands you've already issued, and the down will go down through them. So I can go to this and just edit it. So I can do wget, and there we go. Press enter, and it downloads Craft Bukkit 1.4.2 r0.2.jar. Waiting for this to download is probably the most exciting part of this. As you can see, it looks like the Bukkit server timed out. For that reason exactly, I have a mirror up on my website for downloading it, so I'm going to just download it from there since Craft Bukkit's main server seems to be struggling. So I'm going to delete this real quick. 1.4.2 r0.2.jar, and wget the open effect.com/CentOS /Craft Bukkit 1.4.2 r0.2.jar. And like that, with great download speed, we have it downloaded. That's what my shell script uses. It uses the mirror on my website for a lot of stuff, just because it makes it easier, and it's, I think, more reliable than the Bukkit website, because the Bukkit website has a lot of traffic, mine doesn't. So that's what it's using. So anyway, once we're in here, we can do a we can make a new shell script. So I'm going to do nano start server.sh, and it's going to open up this GNU Nano. It looks kind of like a really basic text editor, because that's exactly what it is. And in here you can just put commands for stuff. So the way you start a Java jar file is java-jar, or java-jar, and then the jar name. So myfile.jar. So if you want to give it memory parameters, you do java xmx. That's the maximum. xms, that's the minimum. This is what I'd recommend if you got the Spot VPS or Comfort Host server that I recommended for $6 a month. If you have another one, base this on how much RAM you have. If you have 2 GB of RAM, put right around 2 GB here. You might want to put a little bit less if you don't have burstable RAM. Burstable means like when you start going a little bit over the RAM requirement, it kind of kicks in and says, oh, here, have a little bit more. And so it bursts up to that, but in general you have about 2 GB. And so XMX 2G, XMS 1G, and then you put your jar flag, and then you put the name of your jar file. So this one is called Craft Bukkit 1.4.2 r0.2.jar, and I'm just going to exit here and save it at startserver.sh. And now if I ls, you can see all I have is the Craft Bukkit jar and the start server shell script. And the way you start a shell server is shell script is you do /startserver.sh. However, this is not going to work because we haven't listed it as executable yet. To do that, you do chmod a+x startserver.sh. What this does is it gives it permission to be executed as a program. So it's giving the shell script full access to be executed as a program, and I'm going to be running it from root, so it's going to have root permission. So chmod a+x. Now if I do ls, you'll see that startserver.sh is green. That means that it's executable and basically it's a program. So right now you're completely caught up with the automatic way to install, aside from the fact that you have OpenJDK instead of JRE, but that really doesn't matter for this. And so I will see you in the next tutorial, of which there's a link. You can see it right now, a little button that will take you to tutorial number 3. And in number 3 we're going to go over actually starting up and configuring your Bukkit server, putting plugins in it, and a little bit more in depth how to use the Linux command line, plus a little bit of a relearn for the people who came from the easy installation. So, I'll see you next time, and thank you for watching.